Hey there guys, this is Obsidian Chill. Got another video for today, and this is a follow-up to my previous video, which was updating the ally system. I get a lot of questions and comments everywhere in regards to what ally should I level, what ally should I have as a water healer, what ally should I have as an earth tank, what ally should I have as a controller, DPS, any kind of situation. A lot of these players or everyone's treating allies similar to artifacts, and while they do have comparisons, right now, allies in general are more wants instead of needs. So you shouldn't be looking at it as what allies I need, it's what allies I want. And I'll kind of go into detail here. So we'll bring up the allies. Now, I don't have any doubt in my mind that the ally system is going to expand and take over what artifacts was. We're sitting at like 36, 37 artifacts, I believe, and that's just not realistic with how powerful an artifact needs to be. You need to have rank separated from like 120, 160, 180, or 200, and rank 80 as well. So it's, artifacts are what shape metas in the entire game. We've shifted from like a supercharged meta. We've gone to like a venomous meta in terms of prec. We've gone to like the cards meta where it's like transformation card, strategy card. We went to like a heat vision meta before they adjusted that. So, artifacts are meta defining in the game, and there's artifacts that present a clear and obvious huge increase in damage or abilities. If you take a healer without purple healing ray and Page of Destiny versus a healer with purple healing ray and Page of Destiny at like 200, that is a massive difference in healing. It completely changes how you heal based on having a purple healing ray and Page of Destiny, and it impacts how the tanks would tank and the entire group because they know they're going to get that kind of rescue heal. Allies aren't that. I don't have a doubt that allies are eventually going to get there because they're going to have to make them not so much pay to win, but they're going to have to make it so that they're worth leveling. And we know the legendaries are going to expand. We already have Nubia coming up. Nubia's legendary. There's also another legendary that's in the work that was data mined from the test server, which is the Batman Who Laughs. So we know that's another legendary that's going to come eventually at some point, and I have no doubt that the legendaries are going to expand because I really, DC doesn't have any reason to create more like epics or rares. They could just create all legendaries or maybe throw in some epics, but certainly no rares. So you have what you have to keep in mind as well is as of yet, there's no fortify system. So if you level an artifact, say you leveled like Omega Hedron or like Scrap the Soul Cloak and you don't need that anymore, you can always wait for like a double sale and then put that artifact fortified into a new one. And then you've got all that XP from a 200 Omega Hedron that you're never going to use into a brand new 200 artifact. And the XP is all there. Then you just need the catalyst. And the catalyst drop in game, you can buy them from the broker. They're easy to farm, cheap on the marketplace, etc. They're all tradable. So similar to what the ally catalysts are, but there's just way more abundance of the artifact catalysts because they've been around longer. So it's really not a big deal during a sale to switch to a new artifact. But with allies, you don't have that. So if you dump in 300,000 XP into like a Flashpoint Batman, if a new better legendary that comes out that's way better than Flashpoint Batman, you're stuck. You have to re-level that entire ally and spend another 300,000 XP because you can't just move the XP from Batman into Nubia, for example, when that comes out. So that's why you have to be somewhat careful in terms of what allies you level and not just max them out needlessly because better ones are going to come around and you're going to end up spending more money and then you're going to cry more foul as a pay-to-win system. And you have to look at it as what actually helps you. What's like more, not so much a gimmick ability, what actually is going to help you as a player. So take a look at Oraclebot. So I'll go through each ally and kind of give you a rundown of it, and then you can make the decision for yourself as a player. Like I can't tell you what to level as an ally because right now there's really no allies that worth it. I mean, you don't have to have 3 ally spots. Even though there's a combat ally and 2 support ones, you can only really, like a combat one you have to have at least something just for some extra damage. But you don't have to have 2 supports. I don't even have 2 supports on live. I don't have all these allies leveled. I have like 3 or 4 leveled because that's all you need. So take a look at Oraclebot. So I'm not going to focus on like the damage aspect of it just for like because the damage really, you've got Cyborg, which is the top, but it's a little bit trickier to use. House of Legends bot is the top damage for a single target. Batman's not too far behind. And then Nubia's, now that there's no pushback, Nubia's damage will be slightly above Flashpoint Batman. So in terms of damage, it's going to go Cyborg, House of Legends, Nubia, Flashpoint. But when you take a look at Oracle Bot, repairs your gear over time. Is that necessary? No. You can pop a repair bot. You can go to any single vendor in the entire game. It repairs. So I understand that it's got its perks and advantages in content if you don't want to, pay to repair your gear. But do you really need to spend that much XP just for something that already exists in the game? No. It's just a luxury. Oracle Bot is simply a luxury. It's not a necessity. House Legend Bot, like I said. Is this a necessity in terms of being a rare, and in terms of being the best single target damage, and in terms of its supportability actually being somewhat helpful in terms of providing power back for no extra, as a healer or controller, you just get free power back, and as a controller, you can kind of balance that between having power back from House of Legends Bot and power back from your sodas, etc. So I would say House of Legends Bot is a necessity. Plus, it's a rare, super cheap. So we've got that. Calculator Bot. But its damage aside, all it does is when you take damage, you convert a small percentage into your maximum health. Is it some OP heal that's going to like rescue you, like a Page of Destiny proc or like a healer? No, it's just there to help. It's just something to do. Now, in terms of being a rare, certainly you can level it. It's more beneficial for like fire tanks or rage tanks because their health pools are a lot higher. It's not going to be beneficial for ice or earth or atomic because you're going to have lower health pools, and then you won't get the maximum heal. So really, the only people that should have in Calculator Bot are Rage and Fire Tanks. Other than that, it's just a luxury. It's not, and even then, it's not a necessity for Rage and Fire. It's somewhat helpful. It's something to do in terms of being like a rare. It's going to be cheap, but once again, it's not going to save you. It's not going to be necessary for your role. Flash, same thing. A lot of people like Flash because you get the whole return to combat speed faster. Same with Zoom being faster in combat. But I mean, the damage values from Flash and Zoom are the lowest out of any single artifact or ally. Sorry, Oracle Bot does more damage than Flash and Zoom. Flash and Zoom are completely what I refer to as gimmick ones, but they're just okay. You can run faster and get out of combat faster by like 2 seconds. I mean, is that worth putting that much XP into it? No. I mean, is it kind of like a fun ability to have? Sure. But at the same time, it's not pay to win. You can't even use it in combat. It's only out of combat. So the whole Flash and Zoom thing, that's more just, I don't want to mention like the cosplay angle of it. Like I know, you get to fight beside Zoom, you get to fight beside Flash. I mean, they're only out for like 6 seconds. So I can't put too much weight into like the cosplay argument. Like I'm sure some people are going to really want to see Aquaman fight beside them. But I mean, in all practicality, they're only out for 6 seconds. But once again, Flash and Zoom aren't necessary whatsoever. They're complete luxuries. Cyborg. Cyborg is a necessity. Cyborg is the best ally, and conveniently, at least it's an epic, which is not that much more expensive compared to like a legendary. Cyborg has the best damage, although it's not completely forgivable. You have to position yourselves right. It's not going to be the best in every situation, but Cyborg has the highest potential for damage. And then its passive. His passive is arguably the best passive out of any of them. So that's why, personally, what I do is for boss fights, I use House of Legends Bot. And then for if I'm like Rage or Light or any kind of power set that struggles with power whatsoever, I always have Cyborg as passive. Any kind of pugs I do or omnibus runs, I always do Cyborg because I want the power regen. Now, if you're precision DPS, the power passive is not going to really be that beneficial for you, and then you could use it for damage. So either way, you've got both your bases covered. If you're a might power set that has heavy power, or any kind of healer power set, or even any kind of controller power set, you can use that passive. Or if you're in a tank group and you like to spam your tank abilities like Rage or Fire, and then the controller can't keep up, you can put that on as a tank. So Cyborg I would say is the only necessity. You should have this ranked out on every one of your tunes, because even if they nerf the damage in the end, which I don't think they can because of how the projectiles are based, it's still going to be the best passive. So this one is the only necessity, and that's just one. When you think of like artifacts, what's a necessity? Like Soul Amplifier for your DPS, Transformation card, Strategist card, Grim, Eye of the Gemini, Amulet. You've got so many artifacts that are pretty much a necessity at 200 rank, which is no cheap feat. That's $250 for a 200 rank artifact, and it's about $200 for an ally to max out without a sale. So don't think of it as artifacts yet, but at least it's getting there. And I think it's going to eventually get there with how the developers are going to take this ally system. We got Queen Diana. The whole, taunt, shields, and reflects damage. I mean, that's useful, but it's not entirely practical because of the delay. So if you're taking massive damage as a tank, you can't just like clip someone Queen Diana. You still have to survive like the 4 or 5 seconds until she procs her shield, and that's not a 100% guaranteed that it's going to be snap aggro and all the enemies will attack Queen Diana. So you still have the chance to die. The take that, now that it's fixed in terms of pulling enemies or weapons are debuffed, I mean, yeah, that's beneficial. But at the same time, it's only weapon attacks. It's not NPCs that are based in energy attacks, or it's also not a boss NPC because you can't successfully pull a boss. So it's more like it's useful in terms of like big hallways worth of ads, but at the same time, tanks do just fine without that. There's not a single, besides maybe Earth. Earth is probably the only one I'd say that struggles somewhat in like huge huge NPC trash mobs and hallways and stuff, just because you can get interrupted in aftershocks and take damage. Brick can die from splash damage from ads. Earth still does completely fine. I'm just saying, like Ice, you've got resonating gales, you can completely juggle them, and you've got shields. I mean, Rage has no problem with as many ads as you want. Atomic can keep them perma juggled, and it's got mass density if it really gets into trouble. And then Fire, same thing. You can keep them juggled with Backdraft and a Flame. So Fire's got plenty of moves like that. And then the other one, the Breakout Bonus Might. I mean, that's handy as well, but at the same time, to have that maxed out, you have to get that all the way up to level 10. So Queen Diana, same thing. It's got things that'll help you as a player, but not thinking of it like artifacts. It's not that clear cut of a decision. And like I said, there's going to be allies that come out, they're going to have better abilities than Queen Diana. So at the same time, if you dump all 300,000 XP into Queen Diana, then you're going to be left short for when something else better comes out. And in terms of that, we've got Nubia. So Queen Diana was designed as a tank ally in terms of like the taunting enemies, the weapon debuffs, etc., the breakout might. Nubia, you could argue, does even better. Nubia's ability, instead of being a shield, it's a knockdown effect and gives you heals. So it's much better in terms of like those hallway fights where you might get kind of overwhelmed by ads. It's much better in that situation. And then even on boss fights, because the knockdown effect isn't necessarily going to work on boss NPCs, but Queen Diana, you might be able to taunt like 1 or 2 hits from a boss. And at the same time, you would have to time that perfectly if it was going to be a skull attack. You wouldn't have time to, if you see a skull attack on the boss, summon Queen Diana, and then there's not enough time for Queen Diana to taunt the boss and to have that skull attack hit Queen Diana instead of you. The timing just isn't going to work. And then with Nubia, you've got the whole block counters. That's still a little bit fuzzy, but at the same time, every time you counter, you might get a heal in terms of the internal cooldown, etc. And then the Amazonian Honor, more so, that's like a Tetra Cog, so you could argue that's going to be like a controller one, but it does currently buff, depending on how many people use it. That may not be intended or not. You'll have to check out later if they change that, but I mean, at the same time, that's more of like think of it like a buff artifact, but at the same time, I would argue Nubia is more helpful than Queen Diana. Then we get to Flashpoint Batman. And yeah, its damage is fine, but at the same time, the defense one is, you could even argue that the defense is more helpful than Queen Diana. Now that you get the defense in solo, which is based on range, so if you're far enough away from the target, you're going to get that max defense. Or if you're in a group, it's halved. So at the same time, you're going to always have a perma defense buff as a tank. So like Ice, Atomic, Earth, you got plenty of extra defense for free over Queen Diana. So that's why I'd argue even Nubian Batman, I would say, are better tank allies than Queen Diana. And then Flashpoint Batman, Combat Suture is more for like Prec DPS. Once again, that's just a complete luxury. You don't need an extra heal every 12 seconds when you hit your weapon debuff counter. And in the 12 seconds is only at rank 10. So at the same time, you have to really rank these out to get the full benefits of them. And it's really not that worth it. You can find much better ways to spend $200 like on your artifacts than allies so far. Then we get to Emperor Aquaman. Once again, Emperor Aquaman, I would move into the... if you want to spend the money, he's just like Cyborg. I mean, the DPS aspect of it is Release the Kraken is pointless. But CSAT restart in terms of having a supercharge reduction. Now that the entire meta is based on supercharges in this games in terms of like Eye of the Gemini, Flute, Soul Cloak, all that kinds of things. Supercharge, you're using them quite often. Healers are running 3 of them. You've got DPS like Gadgets and Mental running multiple ones on Invisibility and Stealth. You got other DPS powers using 2 of them on your loadouts like Neo Venom and something else. So you're always going to have Supercharge access and get your cooldown faster of your ally, which means you can more damage on either House of Legends bot or Cyborg. Or Nubia if you're using that. And then the second one, Hear My Call, this one is more necessary for pet DPS, but at the same time it also works for battle tanking, because battle tanking you can fit that Source Shard buff on, and then you're getting buffed from like Quizlet and Grim and your anything that Source Shard buffs, so will Hear My Call, Robot Sidekick, stuff like that. Or if you're like a Earth tank using battle tanking, then you've got Crystal. Or you've got Sorcery DPS, which is Fury, and then the Sorcery DPS with pet DPSing is arguably better than the Might side. So I just want to kind of go through that here. Don't think of it as what allies do I need. You don't need any allies. There's allies that are going to help you do your role better, in terms like Cyborg, but comparing it to artifacts, it's not there yet. It's going to get there, because I'm sure we're going to get, like, by this time next year, we're probably going to have like an entire list of allies. You know, because you can do. There's so many allies you can do based on all DC characters in the game. And, those players are going to, if, Superman comes out, everyone's going to want to have Superman because it's Superman, and the abilities might be pretty good too because it's Superman. So at the same time, it's Superman obviously is going to be a legendary too, so that's another $200. So it's not like you can expect to max out every single ally. And there's some, like, the double abilities, you only rank 6, but at the same time, a lot, like, say Nubia's, for example, at least at rank 6, you get the same buff percentage as you would as rank 10. The only thing that changes is the duration and the cooldown. So things like that are much more geared towards not necessarily maxing it out, but in terms of just maxing it to at least to get the second ability at rank 6. So you got helpful ones like that. So just, if you're going to take something away from this video, take away from the fact that Allies is still in its infancy. I mean, we just got the legendaries fixed. I mean, we just got Flashpoint Batman, Aquaman, Queen Diana working properly, and these have been out since August. So almost 2 months, month and a half, month and 3/4, or whatever. These are broken, and they just were fixed. And now we're just getting or soon, we don't know the exact date yet, but my guess would be with the Wonder Woman content, which is later in October, we'd get Nubia as a part of that Wonder Woman release. That's my assumption, but it may not be completely true. But we're just getting our first ally that wasn't a part of the initial offering. So allies are still new. If you don't have 3 of them maxed out or 3 of them in your equipped allies, don't feel bad, because you don't even need that. Right now, you should be focused on getting Cyborg, because that will help you across any role: controller, tank, heal, DPS. I would get House of Legends bot, because it's cheap and it's the best single target. And cheap, I mean, it should be free. Everyone's gotten the ally favor through the daily login reward, so even if you're like a non-member, you should still have enough XP to get a rare. And that's it. I mean, if you wanted to start leveling up, you could do Aquaman. That's beneficial more as a DPS. So if you want to care about your damage, I would level up Aquaman. And at the same time, if you care about your damage as well, then, I mean, Nubia is going to be handy as well when that comes out. But at the same time, you don't have to necessarily rank that at 10. Other than that, don't worry about it. Just don't stress yourself out over the ally system yet. It's coming. Because I doubt we're going to get too many artifacts anymore. It's just not practical in terms of how much effort would go into artifacts, unless they want to completely change metas. Because at this point, we're pretty much set in our artifact meta. I mean, they would have to come up with something entirely new and game-breaking for it to change. So, just peace of mind. Don't stress yourself out over allies. That'll come down way down the road. So just kind of cool it. Save your ally favor until something comes out that we know we can't do without. So, take care, guys. We'll see you in the next video.